Shalom family, let's read about the parable of the unmerciful servant. Then Peter came to Yahuah and asked, Master, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times? Yahuah answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began to settle, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold to repay the debt. At this, the servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go. But when the servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he demanded. A fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, be patient with me, and I will pay it back. But he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said. I called all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you? In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or your sister from your heart. Family, another book, the book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 13, says to bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you have a grievance against someone, you should forgive as Yahuah has forgiven you. And last but not least, the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 9. It reads, whoever covers an offense seeks love, but whoever repeats a matter separates close friends. So family, I share all these verses today as part of a personal testimony. Family, over the last few months, that season, I have been dealing with a spirit of offense because of a few small discrepancies, indifferences, or things that may have been said, maybe not in a bad way. Now I can say that, but maybe at that time, I have taken these things and perceived them in the way in which hurt me. And so I ended up separating myself because I was hurt and because of the history of things I've dealt with in the past. And while I was separated, I also had stumbled upon others that may have been hurt by similar people. And what I say is that when we have unforgiveness in our hearts, it doesn't matter how many scriptures you share. It doesn't matter how righteous you appear in your eyes or to others even. When we have unforgiveness and when we are holding on to someone's offense, that is what separates people who may have truly been good for you. Family, Yahuah will allow us to go through seasons in which he does not always impulsively intervene because he wants to teach us. There are going to be times when Yahuah will come in and literally rescue you from doing something or going the wrong way that you should not go. But then there are other times in which when we are in a season of growing and transitioning, he will allow certain things to happen in order for you to grow so that you can learn from these experiences, and so that you can also use them as a powerful testimony to share with others who might be dealing with similar things. We can all agree that at one point or another, we had unforgiveness, or we dealt with rejection or a spirit of offense. And when those feelings start to come into our minds, it starts to affect our heart. And no matter how hard we try to serve Yahuah in spirit and in truth, when those areas are tainted because of our flesh and our emotions, we can be led astray from Yahuah. We need to learn how to cover an offense, whether it has to do with someone owing you something, someone making a promise that they have not kept for you. Maybe it's something that happened where someone sinned against you. They said something they shouldn't have said that affected you, or maybe didn't consider your emotions or your feelings. Sometimes that can happen, but it is not intentionally done to hurt us. So as much as Yahuah has forgiven us for the things, the abominations we have done, even our bloodlines and our ancestors have done, we have to be willing to forgive others also. Family, I don't know about you guys, but I not only want to make it to the kingdom on earth, but I want to make it to the kingdom in the heavens when that time comes. And so I know that it is important that while we are examining ourselves and while we are repenting and renouncing from things that no longer help us with growing, that we need to ensure that there is nothing or no one that we have not forgiven. When you find that you have to continuously bring up past offenses, past harms, past hurts, these things rekindle what is not positive but negative. When we bring these things up, it causes bad things to be in the atmosphere, family. These feelings allow bitterness to take root, anger, unforgiveness. And instead, we need to have more mercy on our brethren. It doesn't matter how big or small the sin was or the offense was. We have to always forgive them. And I know that some people we have to forgive, but we still have to use our wisdom and discernment, because unfortunately, as long as we are in the flesh, these things can keep happening, even if the person does not intend for them to happen, because we are all short. We all fall short. We all go through things. And sometimes, instead of being quick to cut someone off, look at the bigger picture. Now, when we say that, it can be unfair because only Yahuah can see the full picture. Only He can see the past, the present, and the future. But when we are walking in wisdom, we are looking at a situation as if it was us and what would we want people to do. How would we want to be treated? How would we want to be addressed? How would we want to be talked to? And so knowing that if someone's going through something, whether it's a big trial, a small trial, a challenge, a hardship, if we don't have anything good to offer in those moments for them, lift up a prayer or just be quiet. Because the minute we do things like cut someone off or get too overly emotional or upset that someone is forgiving, that someone is starting clean and fresh, then we need to look at the speck in our own eyes to make sure that we have a place to even feel that way, because Yahuah Himself didn't feel that way towards His people. Everything in the scriptures has been laid out and written for us to follow as a guide, as a light to our feet, as a instruction. We are to imitate all of these parables and these words of wisdom that was shared with us. We have to imitate, and we have to make sure that we are doing what he says to do in order to be called worthy to receive his salvation and to be able to dwell in the kingdom of heaven on earth and in heaven, family. We need to make sure that we are able, because something as simple as unforgiveness or anger can keep you away. It doesn't matter how many posts you share. It doesn't matter how many words you share of encouragement. It doesn't matter how many following you have. All of these things, it doesn't matter, because what matters is if you are able to be obedient to Yahuah and what he calls us to do. It is not always easy to forgive people. Sometimes it hurts. But when we are humble, we let that pride go. We let the arrogancy go. And we forgive anyway. We love anyway. And so I'm sharing this message as a word of encouragement to anyone else that might have some grudge holdings going on, maybe a little unforgiveness or bitterness in their hearts towards anyone or anything, even other nations, even things and occurrences from history. Yes, these things can anger us. Yes, we can never want to be a part of those things because of the hurt and pain. But we have to learn to forgive and to keep it moving and let Yahuah handle it. Shalom.